Excellent. You can hear me? Yes. I need you guys to have just a little bit more energy. You can hear me? Yes. Excellent. There is a certain joy to being able to be in spaces like this. In one way or another, I've worked with a number of organizations in this room, and that's exciting to know that, one, you're still doing the work, and two, to be able to share that space with you. I was invited to share my story in 2019, and then I wrote op-eds in 2019 and 2020, op-eds that put my life in danger, and I decided I could not be a journalist. I refuse. That being said, it was important for me to learn how to document what was happening. After doing a protest in San Antonio at a detention center, I had panic attacks. I knew that I could not be at the front of the protest because I myself was having an emotional, spiritual, physical reaction to what was happening. I also knew that I was someone who couldn't do the op-eds and all the other things, and I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to witness? How am I supposed to participate? And it turns out that the thing I've always done is the thing I needed to continue to do, which is poems and poetry. And so I do performance poetry sometimes. Today I'm gonna read poems from the book. And I want you to understand that poetry is not just a hobby. Do we agree? Okay. Poetry is not just a cute little fun thing to add to your project or to your program or to your strategy. It is actually something that is at the root of so much. Poets, our job, in my opinion, there might be poets in here who disagree with me, but in my opinion, our job is to make it easier to understand the situation, to help connect the emotion to whatever the issue is that we are advocating for. And so if you work with poets, I encourage you to move past the, hey, can you just do a pretty poem for us real quick? If you could understand how that integrates into the strategy itself. I will say the policy that I was able to help change in San Marcos, Texas. Any Texas folks? Oh my God, we got Texas. Any Texas folks? Thank you. Everything is bigger in Texas. I was waiting on like a rumble of some kind. In Texas, in San Marcos, Texas, I helped to change a policy that directly was attached to my case. And I did it by sneaking into an open mic and reading poems to the city councilman who was running the open mic. And I know that that was a critical part of the strategy, was simply being a community and sharing the work that I have. And so I just, as a poet, I have to advocate for us. Because sometimes when we think about journalism and documentation and really getting the message out there, we focus on the facts, on the data, and not on the humanization, and not on the parts of us that are spiritual or emotional or filled with love and joy. So I just wanted to share that with you. Now I'm gonna read a poem called Do Not Call Us By Our Dead Names, a docu-poem. It was written in part here in Chicago and in San Marcos, Texas. And that's really the only context you need. It is about a protest that I attended to in 2020, right before I had a panic attack, so. Do not call us by our dead names, a docu-poem. Chicago, Illinois, August 2019. Do not call us by our dead names, my sister yells to the Border Patrol agent, her mouth knocked open, overrun with the smoke of lavender, a woman, underloved but alive. She exists, born running loose in the Chihuahuan desert. I go by she, her, and I am from Guatemala. She is a savant of massives, having come across two Americas twice. She says the first time she came alone. When they put me in the detention, they didn't know. They put me in. I told them I am a woman, but they put me in alone. They said it was for safety, but I was alone for months. The second time they put me with the men, it was horrible. And her name is a mural of names flooding prayers I receive hourly via inbox. An email from Susana en la Ciudad says, "La violencia, el feminicidio me siguen, sin cansarse dentro y fuera de horas. Este humo sabe a fábrica, ven acá, mijas, nos vamos por la mañana." The violence, the murdered women, they follow me without getting tired, in and out of Juarez. This smoke tastes like a factory. Come, girls, we're leaving in the morning. It has only been 7 days since she sent the message, pero where she exists now, no sé. San Marcos, Texas, March 2020. I am still en la lucha con mis hermanas porque my city is a river of college students destined to be swallowed by the rural expense of the Guadalupe. In protesta, we comrades float outside of the federal building, the county jail where I was buried, in la lucha against the waves of the recently shipped, the waves of the soon-to-be drowned, and the waves of white faces swimming happily in and out of the front doors. In this war of Marisol, we are all largemouth bass, our tongues flipping back and forth between dos idiomas, porque what happens to our people happens to us. What happens to us happens to our people. We are all still living at the intersection of legal and barely legal. We are a festival of the country's most wicked, dancing, drinking, and chanting long after the music stops playing. Austin, Texas, June 2020. A Texas Parks infomercial explains that the lavender orchid vine survives into the low 20s. It can recover, even if frozen to the ground. This is all I needed to know. So I turn off the 24-hour news coverage with its static videos of me and other indignant Black women from yesterday's rally, some in our 20s, pacing outside of Governor Abbott's mansion, calling for parolees to be freed. At the rally, the large braids and straight backs of us Black women were bracketed by the fences of the Capitol's manicured grounds, our N95 masks, a dermis tagged in the nettle dialects of our dead. Some of us wanted our husbands back, and not in body bags. Others wanted to know in how many ways could we be murdered before we were allowed to be galled. It was a familiar scene. There were mothers there at the mansion, but there are always mothers there with their chins tucked, their chests shattering, and there are still mothers there with their children at the Pearsall Immigrant Detention Center, 40 minutes away, shattering. In Austin, the people's heads floated over the photos of their children. In San Antonio, their heads still float over the heads of their children, now fallen flat and frozen to the ground. Half asleep, I ask if the highway is a swallow of the unflowered, an inflorescence slivering through the meaty brown thigh of the Southwest, up the long black neck of Houston, and down through the empty womb of Corpus Christi. I wonder, is it true? Has the highway always been a violence, a guillotine slowly severing us from our names? Thank you.